Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Grand Cathay and Norsca. It's going to be myself and the forces of Cathay, led by the Iron Dragon, facing off against Subutai, who's going to be coming in with Wulfric and the dreaded Barbarian Hordes. Now, as far as my build goes, yes, we do got some junk in that trunk. It is going to be a sky junk up in the sky, and honestly, I think this thing's pretty good against Norsca. You basically just park it up on an objective, so just sit it between objective 1 and 2. It provides harmony to the troops on the ground, and it's pretty good at nuking infantry at close range. Slightly vulnerable against Manticores, but you can also peel the Manticores off using the Iron Dragon or the Jade Warrior crossbows. Frontline's going to be Jade Warriors. What do you expect? They're pretty much the staple of Cathay, really the backbone of the entire roster. 40 melee defense, 80 armor, pretty resilient against most of the Norscan Unga Bunga. Now in the secondary line, it is going to be Jade Warrior crossbows. I figured they're pretty good against the light armor and also not bad against some of the monsters, and are somewhat resilient themselves if they do end up getting caught. So Iron Dragon is actually my go-to. I don't play Cathay very much, but the couple, I probably played this matchup maybe 3 or 4 times, and every time I found Zhao Ming to be pretty good. You basically use him and you bring just the Dragon's Breath spell, so he can cast this from dragon form. He gives a ward save to nearby units, and that breath spell is super good at killing berserkers and marauders. And who doesn't love a Wujing War Compass? This thing is just straight up awesome. So that's my entire build. And for the forces of Norsca, it's going to be an infantry heavy army. So most of the build is going to be marauders and some great weapons. Obviously all the kind of chaff-centric wide army with a couple marauder champions mixed in to provide a little bit of elite durability. But we'll be seeing mobility and monsters being called in shortly after, I would imagine. Wulfric going to be on foot. He's got Sea Fang, and the Balefiend is going to be a Pit of Shades caster. Not bad at all. Very good stuff since the dawn of time. We used to see Norsca back at the end of Warhammer 2 using Sea Fang and Shadow Magic against High Elf Archer lines, and the same goes for Grand Cathay. It's more or less very, very similar in what it is. So, Daka coming out from the Sky Junk. A lot of people forget, but the Sky Junk does actually have some Crane Gunners shooting from the top. There's not too many of them, but they still put out a little bit of hurt. So over the course of a game, they can accrue a couple hundred value for you, which is nice. Iron Dragon going to be poking up to see what's going on in the old neighborhood, and it looks like one of the Marauder champions does get sniped by the Crane Gunner. See what I'm talking about? Value City, man. We're going to play Objectives 1 and play Objectives 2, and it looks like Norsca is going to be pulling back a little bit cautious, at least right here, as the Sky Junk does unleash its first salvo into the Marauder champions, and the Iron Dragon's going to be getting in there. I mean, the Dragon characters are really cool, and shout out to Professor Pone. He's always the one advocating for using the Dragon, so he inspired me to bring the big Dragon Lord this game instead of the cowardly Dragon-blooded Lords. So Marauder Champion here getting hammered. We do call in a single Great Cannon, which is going to do pretty good damage against the Marauder Champs. I mean, it's not like an anti-infantry artillery piece, but cannons are pretty good against like several different unit types. They can do well against cav, against infantry, against SEs if they're not on foot. So here you can see the Marauder Champs getting worn down. Up in the sky, we do get a Manticore landing, so Manticore causing some nice disruption on the old junks, but Sky Junks have like 10,000 HP. So if I could just shoot this thing with a little bit of crossbow pressure, rampage it, then it's not going to be too much of an issue to deal with. So it looks like we are going to be getting the first Vortex. I do partially dodge it, but the Vortex still is able to catch the back of the Jade Warrior unit here, so that was pretty unfortunate for myself. But nonetheless, the price has been paid, and the Iron Dragon got those Marauder Champions relatively low. We're taking a little bit of crossbow fire, and now we do call in some heavy hitters. So the Righteous Lances away Jin, one of the other best units on the roster, are going to be on their way in, and crossbow fire saturating into the Marauder Champions. Not amazing, they do have bronze shields, not silver shields, but you got to wear them down. They're the elite targets, and we got to slow them up here. So there's that breath attack spell that was overcasted. You can see how damn cost effective that is, and a couple Marauder champions do overextend into my lines. So the Righteous Lance is going to move in and just absolutely hammer these guys. They're going to get their bread buttered pretty hard by the armor-piercing Great Longman Riders. Cannon fire as well pouring in. So these Marauders are taken down. Wujing War Compass with the steel chair on the side, dropping in a combat of Cassandora on the edge of the Marauder champion formation. Unfortunately, a little bit of backfield penetration has gotten through here, so we do see Marauders with great weapons moving into my backfield, and both my archery units are going to be kind of forced to kite a little bit, and you can see they're now both shooting into the Marauders, so hopefully they'll be able to do their thing. Here, this fight's going well. We do have the Righteous Lances clearing up the Marauder champions, these other Marauders being pushed back, so now we just need to get through the great weapons, and we should be able to push up towards Objective 1 and hopefully get that one, and when the backfield pressure does come in, the Jade Lancers are going to be answering the call. So Jade Lancers are out here. These bad boys are going to be lancing down these haggard barbarians, and these are just Marauders who probably have melee defense in the low 20s, so it's going to make Jade Lancers look like Reiksguard Knights. They get in there, they hammer down those Marauders. Terror Out actually coming in from the Iron Dragon, and one of the things that I really like the Dragon characters for is that normally, foot-based characters or characters and SEs in general that are small and low to the ground are like almost impossible for Grand Cathay to kill, but the Dragons address that weakness for sure. Unfortunately, the Sky Junk is shooting into the trees. I did not notice that during the game, but even still, trying to push forward aggressively, we do get some Skin Wolves coming in. So this is looking to be a classic case of, obviously all 3 objectives are in my opponent's control. I'm desperately pushing up, but will I be able to get it quick enough? Find out on today's episode of Dragon Ball Z. So Cannon Fire shooting into the Marauder champs, forcing them back. Should be switching that to a different target right now. Man Score up in the sky going down, and looks like it is going to be probably butchered by the Righteous Lances, who have insane stats. 53 and 55. I mean, a way better stat line than the Man Score. Also a little bit of range DACA coming in, and I have called in the second cannon. The cannons have honestly been super effective here. I've been shooting at Wolfric, been shooting at the Skin Wolves and the various elite infantry units, and you can see it has netted us a pretty substantial value lead. But one of Cathay's biggest weaknesses is getting on objectives. They can take an objective, and if they start with it and hold it, they're good at that. But Grand Cathay is one of the worst factions in the game at taking objectives, like from a defending enemy, at least in my experience. Which would be interesting, because when they eventually get a DLC, if they get like an aggressive unit that has some killing power in melee, like infantry-wise, Grand Cathay could really become a powerhouse in domination mode. And honestly, they're already a decent faction. I think they kind of sit between 40 and 50% win rate, and that's with a very limited roster. So here in the middle, the Iron Dragon has landed, and he's trying to duke it out with these guys, and the Sky Junk trying to put a little bit of supporting fire down into the blob. Does help break some of these units, and now the Righteous Lances of Wei Jin going to be looking for some scraps back here as we make our way towards ye old objectives. And Norsca is certainly looking a little bit beat up. We see Wolfric on the run, cannonballs shooting him from downtown, trying to snipe him to lower the leadership of the Norscan roster to make pushing a little bit easier. And here the Righteous Lance is able to quickly intercept these Marauders heading towards the objective. I was trying to head off the reinforcements. I do think like basic Long Marauders too might be really good in this matchup. I feel that the Long Marauders can just kill a lot of the light infantry very effectively. Also probably not terrible against Skin Wolves. I think Righteous Lances of Wei Jin are probably an auto take for Grand Cathay in a ton of matchups. They're just such good utility with that armor piercing. But even still, we do push back the infantry, and now we get some Peasant Horsemen coming up, crossbow shooting across into the Marauder Champions over here on the side. And the Jade Warriors actually do defeat basic Marauders in combat pretty decisively. So we should be able to get this objective now. We do have the Peasant Horsemen moving up, and hopefully the crossbows will make it to the objective. Moving the Sky Junk on top of the objective to make sure I have harmony on my melee units fighting for the point. Now it's going to be turning about face getting into the Marauders here. So on the rest of the battlefield, we do have your boy Zhao Ming battling the Man Score. Let's watch some Dragon Balls. It's more like, he's not so much Dragon Ball Z, he's more like Avatar, the last Earthbender. So he's getting Airbender, excuse me. Is it Earthbender, Airbender? Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it. He's got some cool attack animations, man. Really, really cool stuff as he does battle with the Feral Man Score. Should be able to win that, especially if he goes into Dragon form and it's extra monsters with 580 weapons rank. Certainly no joke. I do make a play for the side objective, so here we get Peasant Horsemen as well as Jade Lancers. I saved up to make sure I could summon enough critical mass to just shock and awe these Marauders off the objective. So here the Jade Lancers is going to be coming around the back of these Marauders, and the Peasants will be hitting them from the other side, and that means that objective should be pretty good for us until some reinforcements can get there. So this point's flipping. Obviously, we're going to be in triple cap territory very, very soon here. Peasant Horsemen desperately trying to fight on the point, but we haven't been able to get it, and some Trolls are on their way in, so the Trolls could be a little bit problematic as the Peasant Horsemen move in, and Norsca does have a little bit of a resurgence here on this side. Marauder Champions with Great Weapons are not going to be easy for me to move. Neither are these Armored Condom Wolves. Thankfully, the cannons from downtown are picking off these Troll models in pretty solid numbers. Sky Junk putting a little bit of fire on them as well, proccing some, I believe, fire damage. Yeah, so it should be a little bit of a vulnerability there. But realizing this objective isn't looking great for me with all the mass and the Marauder Champs, I kind of give up on that for now and rotate over to the center objective where we have the Iron Dragon and some Jade Warriors with some capture weight, so we'll have to see how that goes. In the backfield, things got a little bit messy. Out of desperation, I did call in an Iron Hail Gunner. I was like, okay, I just need to stop these Marauder Champions from getting to the point. I did get a couple shots in their face, but overall the Iron Hail Gunners here do go down. And that was honestly a mistake. I should have just unsummoned the Great Cannon Crew when he got close like that, but I tried to defend it thinking the Iron Hails would blast the Marauder Champions, but Marauder Champions have super high leadership and shields, so that wasn't the best call. On this side, we do call in Iron Hail Gunners, a decent defensive unit in this situation, granted going to be partially obstructed, and the man scores at 700 HP, but it just like paths right into those guns, and we still should be able to get it. But, not the best situation for us. So on the other side, our two cavalry units do sweep objective number 3. We get that one, and now the Jade Lancer is going to be heading towards the middle objective right here. Would you see the Jade Warriors and company routing off the Norscans? Wolfric got his butt kicked super hard by the Iron Dragon, so Zhao Ming did quite well. Peasant Long Spearman on the way up, couple crossbows supporting, putting some firepower into the Balefiend. Balefiends are pretty resistant against missiles. They do have okay armor, but also 25% missile resist base for, being scary swamp monsters. You guys know how that goes. Jade Lancers charging into Norscan Trolls. Not a great fight. Trolls are pretty well designed to bash, Empire Knight equivalents. You know how, like, 40k, they have, like, Space Marine equivalents? Yeah, there's, like, Empire Knights, Jade Lancers, Winged Lancers, all that kind of stuff. They're kind of all, like, similar units, and very, stats are almost identical. But here we do bash the caster down, increasing our value a little bit. Cannon fire and bow slowly pushing up on the point. Couple Jade Lancers going to come in and try and butter some bread with the support of the old Sky Junk. They're actually going to be getting Harmony. So you can see their stats are 27 and 29 and 32 and 36 by having the Junk kind of floating over the objective. And the Junk has gotten 1,200 value so far, so really not bad at all. Those things cost 1,500. It's providing Harmony, which obviously isn't taken into account with its value, and we should be able to win the fight against these Marauder champions. Cannon's putting hurt down on the Norse controls. We got pressure on all sides, and it's going to be one of those games where if I can get and hold a triple cap, like it's going to be hard probably for Norsca to get back in it, simply because they are pretty far behind on value and they don't have any access to healing outside of the Condom Wolves. Here, the Peasant Long Spearman doing the work of the Dragon Emperor with the big dragon fighting near him. It should be pretty good against the trolls. Peasant Horsemen also helping hold, and Terror Routes just going off, non-stop. That wasn't a Terror Route there, but there were plenty earlier. And here the Norse controls getting slapped. A Breath Attack coming in from the Iron Dragon. Very, very clutch at clearing the objective. You can see that Breath Attack immediately Terror Routes those guys, right? That is like huge value. They're going to be running, getting shot at, not supporting these Norse controls. And in the meantime, Objective 3 is going to be sitting under our control. Here, Jade Lancers grabbing the point. Also sending up some fresh Jade Warriors, so those Jade Warriors should be making it to Objective 1 in a second. We could use the Jade Lancers to hold off these Marauders, and the Sky Junk's just going to be sitting there providing Harmony. You can also unsummon the Sky Junk if you want to, but I still think keeping it on the battlefield for Harmony isn't bad. But granted, I don't know, 1,500 would give you about 700 back, so yeah, a little bit of a tricky one. Now, looking like we might be able to roll a triple cap here, but Subutai with the sneaky does have some Marauders with Great Weapons heading towards Objective 3. I have some Jade Warriors heading over there as well. And in this situation, we are going to be getting that sweet triple cap here, it looks like. But several units coming in, which could be tough to deal with. Iron Dragon getting a Breath Attack, and he's honestly getting really, really danger close to, winning the game. He's at 1,300, I'm at 196. Very scary stuff. Couple Marauder Horsemen here get their throwing axes and push off my Jade Lancers. So this is actually kind of precarious, because with good control, what Subutai can do is he can get the Marauder Horsemen, move them up, and start cycle charging my Jade Warriors to keep them from getting to the objective or just kind of harass them, allowing the Norsca and Unga Bunga to come in and grab this point. So what's probably going to be happening here is Subutai is going to be going all in on Objective number 3, trying to grab that if he can. Here on Objective number 1, we have the Jade Warriors holding and honestly doing pretty well. We got Jade Lancers supporting, Jade Warriors, and Harmony. So this objective should be a pretty easy hold for us. The middle objective we still haven't taken yet, which is a big problem. I've been trying to wrestle this objective for a long time, which has been letting him get closer and closer to victory. But finally, we break the back of the Norscan invaders there, and we do take that objective. And, here you can see where the Dragon Lords might have a lot of potential, right? Those Terror Routes and that, presence to really fight on a point, the other characters might not have. So here, very scary, guys. Horsemen coming in, doing a little bit of harass on the Jade Warriors. We also get the Marauders with Great Weapons, which have 35 speed against my 28 on the Jade Warriors, which hurts really bad. So he's able to get to the objective quicker, even though my Jade Warriors were called in first. And this objective does flip. I wasn't quite able to get it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have much time. We better get to this quick. Top objective looking perfectly safe. Cannons here, Jade Warrior crossbows. This was an unnecessary summon. Those crossbows should have been called in down here for sure. Iron Hill Gunners coming in, Jade Warriors coming in, but those Horsemen are going to be able to hold the point pretty well by just running circles around my very slow infantry, and that's going to buy some time for Norsca to just spam Marauders up on this point and try and hold that bad boy down. So we'll have to see how that goes. Jade Warriors heading up. Jade's here also on the point fighting with the Iron Dragon. It'd be cool if the big Dragon Lords provided Harmony. Like they're kind of these paragons of Cathay society, and they provided a balance and harmony to the troopers. I feel like that'd be a nice buff for Grand Cathay, but currently, most of the time you just see the Dragon-Blooded Shogun Lords who are just so boring, compared to the big cool dragons. So shotgun fire right in the face of these charging horsemen. They're going to get in there, but probably took some pretty nasty damage on the way in. But even still, it's still a bit of a distraction, and you can see I'm not able to quite flip this objective yet. Iron Dragon does push these Marauders off. But guys, I don't have too much time left. This is getting very, very precarious. Moving across, we're calling in whatever we can, but we're also kind of struggling in the middle a little bit. Here we got Marauders with Great Weapons and basic Marauders doing their thing. A fair amount of troops up top, which is unfortunate. Definitely probably should have allocated some more resources down to the bottom. Jade Warriors coming in, and another Breath Attack from the Iron Dragon, generating big value. I mean, just crushing these Marauders. He's at 2,600 value, so he's more than paid for himself. So this objective's starting to flip, but more Marauders going to be on their way in. But pretty much every Marauder is just running into an old grind here, as they do get taken down. A couple Jade Warrior Cavalry. Our Jade Lancers will be coming in to try and push these Marauder Horsemen off the point, and once again, the cap weight is kind of fluctuating back and forth and back and forth. Shotgun blasts in the face on the Marauder Horsemen finally break those bad boys, and it looks like here we are going to be able to break these Marauders off the point. So these Horsemen will be running for the hills, but still a fair amount of Norscan capture weight, right? We have these Marauders here, we have these ones. And, you know, I'm just barely going to start edging this out once I get these horsemen off the point. Iron Hill Gunners on the way, crossbows on the way, guys, and we got to get this very, very quickly. So big breath attack right there. That's going to lead to probably a double terror route. So these Marauders going to be wavering and terrified, and as soon as they get terrified, it flips. I got 20 seconds left. This objective's starting to flip. These Marauders running for the hill. Condom Wolves on the way in, but I got a big, big capture weight advantage, and these Marauders are naturally broken. So if I get this, it's basically just GG, and Grand Cathay will be walking into the sunset. We got about 7 seconds left. No biggie. Horsemen moving in to diminish the capture weight. Really, really good veteran plays here from Subutai. A couple Iron Hail Gunners going to be reaching the point. But ladies and gentlemen, we were like 3 or 4 seconds short. It was such a close game. And really, that game just came down to a couple of summon mistakes. On the top, I overestimated his strength on the top, and I summoned in a crossbow unit to go to the top. If those units had been on the bottom or at the same time, we just win that game. Super close. And factions like Grand Cathay, which like you really got to be very methodical with where you send your units because they're a little bit slower, much like playing Nurgle, for example. Granted, Cathay isn't very good at taking objectives back, whereas Nurgle is. They have a little bit more aggression. But man, what a great game. It was super close. I think I played a little bit too defensively as well, but I don't know. It almost worked out. It was just a couple like decision-making issues I had at the very end. Did cost us, and Subutai scrapped very well despite being behind on value, right? 2,800 here. Crossbows I felt were a bit of a weak link. I guess not bad. Yeah, I don't know. Did we just go Iron Hills there instead? It just felt like they got pressured by the swarming armies, but yeah, I don't know. We could switch out, like maybe go a little bit lighter, maybe cut one crossbow and cut the Wujing War Compass, which was a bit of a disappointment, honestly, and just get a couple more infantry units to protect our existing crossbows, and I think our opening is better. Cannons were great. 2,000 value, 600. I love the cannons. Jade Warriors did really good. Righteous Lances were nice for clearing out Marauder Champions. And yeah, it was a really great game. Really, really nice game. I think a couple more Peasant Horsemen, too, would have been really nice. Like, I felt in the late stages of the game, I was like just wishing I had more cavalry to rush to the objectives, and I didn't. But yeah, great stuff. GG well played. The Norscan army, obviously, they're pretty big, you know, behind on value, but they still scrapped well, had some good trades, and played the objective game very strong. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Man, I'm excited for the future of Grand Cathay. It's going to be interesting to see if they get some killing power. They could honestly become just like a powerhouse, you know, S-tier faction. They have a lot of good fundamentals, a lot of good roots, like a good foundation. You know, CA made factions that in Game 3, though they had limited rosters, have really good foundations to be built upon. Like Kislev with their Unbreakable, like Buyer Blood, some really, really powerful units, armor, durability. Cathay kind of like, you know, with a bit of an Empire style, but with monsters and other stuff like that. It's going to be fun. GG well played. See you guys next time, and that's it for today.